Hello everyone, this is Dr. Geer and this is Unit 4, Chapter 6. And we are going to be discussing staff development as the subject of this lecture. If I was to point out an area where I think that the standards movement has had a great effect beyond certainly the obvious one of much testing, I would point out to you the effect that it has had on staff development. And the reason that I say that is that I think that as school administrators, boards, teachers all began to grapple with the idea of how do we improve student achievement, it became apparent to them that staff development or professional development, however you want to term it, was the key to moving the skill set of the professionals in our educational system towards a overall proficient level that would then translate into improved student achievement. I would have to say that within the last 15 years or so, staff development has received an incredible amount of attention within the educational system, and rightly so, and has also received probably more resources than it had enjoyed in previous years. As a longer-term veteran of this business than you as my audience, I would characterize professional development in the early years of my career as basically one-shot workshops where some expert would come in from outside, deliver a workshop on a superintendent's conference day, professional development day, whatever the name you want to give it. And it was kind of a fly-through, drop some panacea on the staff in the auditorium that they were supposed to now take back to their classroom and implement into practice. I'm now moving on to slide number 2 about professional learning communities, because this is the most publicized and probably the most popular structure for professional development as it stands today. And its major proponent is Rick DeFore out of Illinois. Rick and his stable have made a living out of developing professional learning communities throughout the country. And I have to say that one of the aspects of professional learning communities that I'm a fan of is that it epitomizes the phrase lifelong learners. It's taking teachers, principals, superintendents, whomever, even board members, and it really is pushing them, motivating them into continuing their learning processes. There are several popular forms of professional learning communities in our schools today. Amongst them are peer-to-peer coaching and evaluation models, where a teacher may pair up with a peer. They do projects together. They may do observations together. And in some school districts, such as the one where my wife works, they can even partner with a peer who will basically evaluate them in off years of an evaluation cycle. Another popular form is group grade level projects where a group of interested teachers, maybe a 7th grade team, maybe it's technology teachers in a school, whatever it might be, get together and do a project. This could be anything from a curriculum based to an instructional improvement project, could have something to do with assessment. This again is a way that a professional learning community can be formed. An easy way to introduce the idea of the professional learning community into your school is by having book talks. That is, take a book like Wounded by School by Kristen Olson and have your staff or a group that you are leading read that and use it as grist for discussion. Another is to have study circles. That is that a group of teachers will get together, pick out a curricular instructional assessment issue and do study on it. In other words, meet regularly, pick it apart, analyze it, and figure out ways in which to improve their instruction, curricular practices, and or assessment practices in their respective classrooms. One tool of professional learning communities that that you have engaged in to some extent in EDAD 600 was action research, and the model that I have brought forward in the principalship is the results model of Dr. Michael Schmoker, which basically provides a framework around which an individual or group of professionals can perform action research. And certainly going into a level of detail that Schmoker does is beyond the parameters of this lecture. I know that in supervision with Dr. May, you will be studying Charlotte Danielson's supervision and evaluation framework, and one of the tools that Danielson uses in this framework is the encouragement of creation of PLCs for more seasoned teachers as an alternative to traditional administrator clinical supervision observation models. And by employing the techniques that I just discussed, Danielson weaves the professional learning community into her model for supervision and evaluation. And I believe that the value in this model is that it really promotes self-accountability both within the individuals and within the group, because each of them is now responsible to the others within their professional learning community, whatever form that might take. I'm moving on to the next slide now. I'm on slide 3, the dimensions of the learning process. And what I would like to do at this point is just to discuss with you some of the things that I've learned about adult learners. And I think that you could apply this as a principal or a staff developer in whatever format that takes. And one of the characteristics that I would stress to you is that adult learners need enfranchisement. Oftentimes I've found that in both staff development and professional learning communities, providing choices for people gives them a sense of self-determination and feel that they have a say within the development of their own learning. This is important because it is the foundation for buy-in. And by that I mean we can provide all kinds of professional learning opportunities for our staff, but if they don't feel that there's value in that, it's basically a waste of time. Another characteristic of the adult learner is that that person needs to feel safe. By that I mean that they have the opportunity to take risks, practice new skills without threat of evaluation or a gotcha atmosphere. They need to feel like they can trust the administration around them to give them an opportunity to stretch and practice the skills that are being provided to them through their study in a professional learning community or some other methodology. One of the things that goes along with that is to provide the teachers with an opportunity for practice. By that I mean even within the realm of the workshop or the sessions where teachers are learning new skills, make sure to build in time where they can actually practice it. At one point I had read some research that it takes approximately 16 repetitions of a new skill before it becomes consciously practicable. So you have to give teachers a lot of practice in order to have them adopt new methodology. Same with your other staff, albeit support staff, your clerical, your custodial, and so on. One of the most successful models that I have found in terms of staff development is one that employs coaches. And by coaches I mean curriculum, instructional coaches that are exemplary teachers who specialize in the implementation of a curriculum area, a discipline, a process or technique. For instance, in my experience as a superintendent, we went through the process of adopting a new literacy series and also a new mathematics curriculum. And one of the things that we did in order to facilitate their implementation was to free up a math teacher, free up a reading teacher who would implement these programs. Obviously, in larger school districts, there's going to need to be more than one of those, and there will have to be coordination of their efforts. But I believe the model has merit, albeit a small system, large system, and I know that in the case of the school districts that we're dealing with in Horry County and Marion, that there are some of these coaching models in place. I think that they are very useful. One of the aspects that I think is a huge advantage for them is that the staff do not see them in an evaluation mindset, so therefore they let down their guard, they're not defensive, and they're willing to listen to the lessons that these coaches can bring to them. And oftentimes they develop a strong rapport with your staff and can really make a huge difference in student achievement, and teachers really become to rely on them as a resource for dealing with issues as they go through their day-to-day work as teachers. One of the things that I would caution you about with the coaching model is that in tough times, this is a place where people go to right away to try to make up money, because since these people are not dealing directly with students, people see them as something of a luxury. I don't think anything could be farther from the truth. I think in some ways my own feeling, my own opinion would be is that I would raise class size in order to keep coaches, because I think that through their efforts teachers become more effective, can deal with more numbers in their classroom if they have to, although it certainly would be ideal to keep your class sizes low and have coaches both. One part of this slide, the last bulleted point, is considerations related to the learning process. One of the things that I would pose to you is too often we try to do our professional development at the end of the school day, and I think that that's a huge mistake. I think that after a hard day of work in the classroom, a teacher's tired, they've got other things on their mind, they've got papers to correct, they've got dinner to make, they've got coaching to do, to try to do effective professional development after the school day its efficacy is relatively limited. With that, I'd like to move on to the next page, and I'm basically going to be dealing with slides 4 and 5 together here, so they kind of run together. This slide talks about creating a staff development program. And I'd like to just give you a few of my thoughts on that, having built some from the ground up. And as a principal, uh, one of the things that I would challenge you to think about is that you are in the business of staff development daily, and you need to be constantly thinking about how can I move my staff to make their skill set better. I oftentimes use the metaphor that I was trying to put more tools in their tool chest all the time. So think about it in that way as a principal. One of your major challenges will be constantly advocating for resources for staff development. You need to continually keep planning about this, show your competency in it, and you will be rewarded by additional resources. One of the things you need to be looking for is looking very, very critically at your staff, both individually and as a group, and what areas of growth do they display as both individuals and as groups, because you can pick up some more group behavior amongst your staff because of cultural underpinnings that you may not want to reinforce. So, and actually intercede within. So think about that as you observe people, as you observe interactions, as you watch the instruction that's going on in your building every day. And obviously another place that you turn to in terms of trying to assess what your staff development program should look like is data. You know, what does the data show you? And again, I would challenge you to think about the plethora of data that is in your school beyond just your test scores. You've got all kinds of things going on. You've got attendance. You've got expenditure per head. You've got to take a look at all that data to kind of get a sense of where you want to go and how to allocate your resources. Speaking of resources, I think that you can only use your resources most effectively if you plan well. And too often I have seen staff development programs that were slapped together at the last minute to try to fill a void because there was a professional development day or a superintendent's conference day. Planning to make this time meaningful for your teachers and your staff is an imperative, because one of the ways that they are going to view your leadership, your ability to manage the building as an educational leader, is through these programs. They will scrutinize this very carefully, and oftentimes your reputation as the building leader will hinge upon the quality of the staff development activities that you provide. Albeit you may not be directly responsible for that, but it is viewed as a reflection of your leadership, as well it should be. As you plan, consider the following. There's an awful lot of talent within your building, within your district, that you can tap to provide professional development. Think about that, because that is really an important tool, because not only does it provide you a low-cost alternative or no-cost alternative for some staff development, it provides reinforcement to your best teachers and your best employees who may provide that staff development, as well as provides the rest of your staff with role models and a place to aspire to be able to deliver this type of program because of the status that's involved with it. Moving to another area, program design, I'd just like to make a comment on a couple of different models, just basically temporal in nature, and that being full day versus half days. They are very different animals in terms of how you plan. For instance, I have found that half-day staff development is a very effective and efficient model in the sense that if you can identify a number of different needs within your building and other buildings, what you can do is organize work time for a teacher or teams of teachers and bring in a team of substitutes that then can travel to another building, grade level in the afternoon, and you can repeat this. It's a very effective and efficient way to do what I call just-in-time staff development. That is, you identify a need that's right there, and you can use this model, half-day model, to address the growth area. A couple of other full days, as I mentioned, they could be called superintendent's conference days, professional development days, whatever the name is. But I would caution you that this is very sacred time. You'll get some push from some people sometimes that they want time to do lesson planning or to do some kind of individual wellness thing, or there's all kinds of requests that come in these days, stress relief, and although all those things have merit, one of the things I would suggest to you is that this time is so valuable in the sense that it comes so rarely that this is a place where you as an education leader must use this time effectively and efficiently and not squander it. Because if you think of it from an economic point of view, you're basically taking your whole staff and you're providing and you're paying a day's salary for what? Okay, so this is one of the things you need to keep in mind as an administrator, and again, it undergirds the theme of planning and how important it is. We have briefly discussed online models. These are beginning to spring up more and more in terms of being able to get specific professional development, webinars on special ed issues, financial issues, reading updates, reading program updates, research. More and more and more of this is becoming available online through webinars, through asynchronous, PowerPoint, any type of different models, along with I would also suggest that if you have some mundane personnel training that needs to happen, say for instance in bloodborne pathogens, sexual harassment, these are places where you can set up online staff development models so that you are not using valuable face-to-face time to do this. Another point that's made on slide 4 is about program evaluation. Too often, this is an area that I think we fall short on. One of the things that we adopted in my last school district after studying our staff development program was to make sure that we surveyed our staff regularly about, one, what was it that they thought that we needed to provide them, and two, we would survey them after a staff development program to seek their input and their reflections about the program. I'm over on slide 5 now. A couple notes on that. As school principals, as I mentioned to you previously, you must be considering this issue constantly. This should be a daily piece of your mental model of your job. What is it that I need to do to provide quality professional development for my staff? And too often I think as school leaders, we see that as some kind of program, for lack of a better term, and it doesn't necessarily need to be that. In other words, as good teachers, you oftentimes use the teachable moment as a way to leverage a lesson or scaffold a lesson. I would pose to you that as a principal, remember, you are the principal teacher of that school. Your students are both not only the students that are in your school, but also your teachers and your staff members. So one of the things I would challenge you to continue to do is, what teachable moments do you see? How do you use them? How do you effectively have learning go on that might not necessarily be part of a formal program? Think about walkthroughs. Think about the conversations you have with various teachers, and oftentimes you could relate a small technique, a process, or advice to teachers just through this type of interaction. One of the things that I would caution you is that you will get pushback from some of your staff about leaving the classroom for staff development. Oftentimes, this could be that they feel that it's not a useful program. It could be that they honestly think that this time away from the classroom will severely impact their students. But I would suggest to you that if you are confident that it is a quality staff development program, that it is worth the time to have your teachers out of the classroom, your custodian out of the building, your clerical people meeting on a skill, whatever the staffing need might be. The key is that they are attending quality and that they are getting skills that will improve his or her performance. I'm on to the last page, the last slide, number 6, about technology and staff development. Reboard talks about online resources, the National Staff Development Council and ASCD. I have never done a lot of work with NSDC, but I will tell you ASCD provides great resources. Their books that they publish are very, very usable. Their programming is generally very, very practitioner oriented. And if you ever have an opportunity to attend their annual convention, do. It is an unbelievable experience, and one that had a deep impact on my educational philosophy. I would also continue, you need to continue to explore the internet, Googling various subjects. The resources that are popping up on TeacherTube, YouTube, TED, there's more and more and more of this. And as principals, I would encourage you, as principals and certainly as future educational leaders in other positions, to get on other websites in management, in leadership, in various financial areas, and to begin to develop a daily read list. For instance, on mine, the New York Times flashes up on my computer screen every morning, so that I can catch up on whatever the breaking news of the day may be. And there are any number of those resources available out there on all different types of subjects. There are feeds for special education, feeds on business management, leadership, and other educational items. Education Week also provides that service in a daily clip service. So I would challenge you to explore some of those. With that, I'm done with my lecture for this particular topic on staff development. It certainly is an area of great interest and probably one of the most dynamic and growing areas in the adult part of our school life.